Good morning, Quasar Markets Live. You have your host, Howard Hondo Greenberg here, and I am here like every morning with my main man, Stephen Big Beat Orr, our founder and CEO here at Quasar Markets. Steve, how are you doing this morning?
I'm good, Howard. I did not eat my normal breakfast cat. I missed that. I sat in my easy chair last night watching the debates, and I can tell you that I learned absolutely nothing about the world. I felt that it was very, very disappointing when it came to actual substance. I did not learn any new things. I When we look at the markets in regards to politics, Howard, we always have to figure out our portfolio and make sure that we are set. We don't care. We're not political here. We don't care who the president is. We just care about policy and making sure that our portfolios are correct and lined right. And I'm okay with this. It's not my favorite, not my least favorite, because this is crap and crap, as I've been saying about the election, but I'm okay to call it. This is Kamala Harris's election to lose now.
Yeah, I know. I saw last night as you guys were chatting back and forth. I sort of was staying. I was actually at a baseball game, so I stayed out of it,
There you go.
and then just watched the recaps. I figured I got enough there. But you could see that sentiment across. Most people that I've seen, Twitter, everything else. It is her race to lose at this point. With that in mind, and I'd like you to actually give me both sides of it. What are the plays that you would look at if if Kamala is to win? What are we going to play? Because I know during the Biden Trump election, there was a lot of money that was made by investors that got on the earlier side of the Democrats winning and buying things like FSLR at that time,
Right.
and others. What would you play right now on that?
One of the questions that was clearly asked was about energy and climate change, and Kamala clearly said that he's a climate denier and that we need to spend $1 trillion fixing the climate. Wow, $1 trillion. That's just a lot of money. Okay, so if that's the case, she was talking about wind and solar. Trump said solar is expensive, $400 million in the middle of the desert, wasting space. Okay. He also has said it a few times, drill baby drill in some campaign stops. So on his side, it would definitely be the oil markets. Looking at oil right now, 67.30 a barrel. I don't think that the oil markets really believe that he's going to win either. So in her case, electric vehicles. In his case, he said electric vehicles, no, that he still believes that people are just aren't ready for them. I tend to agree with that, including my own self. Right, I don't have a full blown electric car. I have a hybrid. He's right. I don't think the infrastructure's there yet. Um, in her case, I think she was talking about spending money on infrastructure even more in buildings. I also think that nothing will happen in DC. Things will just pretty much stay the same. Um, he was has been saying that he thinks, one of the key demographics that they've both been looking for is the middle class.
Right.
In that case, blue collar jobs like building vehicles will be a thing that I think will. It's just a matter of what type of vehicles, and we've already seen Ford already stopping their productions of electric vehicles. We're starting to see BMW slow that down too as well on both sides of the pond. Okay, so there you go.
Yeah.
I don't think anything's changed. I think people already know that Trump's a known entity, and obviously Biden and Kamala Harris are in the White House. So I don't see anything changing, to be honest with you.
That would be, I guess that's part of the question was asking is, unlike where we had a change from the Republicans to the Democrats in the last run, this time it looks like we're going to stay in the same one. So the plays they're already in play, so to speak. So not as much of a change there. Uh, DJT taking it on the head this morning. I was looking at that. I have that chart up here for us. It was down about 14% earlier.
Oof, it is down 14%. Wow.
Yeah, you can see that. That thing got rammed. Gave up all of the gains that you saw leading up to it and then some. So, again, if sort of the investing market is speaking to the election, I think that sort of shows you in a chart what you can look at. Didn't notice one thing I was looking at this morning: CME, FedWatch, FOMC as to sort of pivot there. But as we're talking about that, after CPI this morning, not much of a move, 71%. So it does look like what you've said, the quarter point coming there. I do have to ask you, what do you think about this sort of, just bipolar trader? That just this morning CPI hit exactly where they said, right? Should have been less volatility.
For me, Howard, look, I've been saying at the get go, there's been something wonky in this market. And in doing that, look, I want to tell you right now, the wonkiness of the market is telling me that this is chop, and that means computers. It's algo trading right now. You're seeing some bigger institutions that are looking at the markets and they're going, okay, well, we know the rules are in place, so let's just play the rules. So yeah.
Yeah, with that, it's going to be interesting. Another thing
Nice
I
little
noticed,
pop there in Bitcoin there. Look at that pop in Bitcoin there to 57.
57064. So that's getting close. 57350, Steve, is what I was talking to our viewers about yesterday as the spot that I was watching here on Bitcoin, if we can get above there. So get back into this trading area up here. But Bitcoin reacting pretty well, like I said. I'm going to do a little bit of a bigger look on it today in the afternoon session, because I'm noticing some things. Miners, while profitability isn't exactly great for them right now, hash rate's at all-time high again. So some of these things that I look at on chain that show the strength of Bitcoin there. Going to talk a little bit this afternoon too about Riot, Mara, some of the Bitcoin miners, what their charts look at like, and the ones that are sort of my favorites there. So that should be interesting. But that's moving up. Oil's the one that's still not moving up, Steve, right? 67 on the WTI.
Yeah.
The other one I saw that had jumped earlier today, now up about 4.55, is your favorite Cocoa. Put Cocoa on the screen there for you. I added that to my watch list for you.
I think the Cocoa trade is about done, though. For me, I think that's just that we're pretty much there now.
Yeah, you can see you got a little bit. You'd be playing into some headwinds up here, right?
Yeah, somebody just hit the markets a bit there on this run.
Yeah, let's see what we got going on here with the SPY. Up about 0.44 this morning.
And what I've been saying the whole time, Howard, is Nvidia. To me, it has been the darling here after the beat down it got. Even when the market's pulling back just a wee bit here, to me it seems strong here that people are looking to put Nvidia back on the map, and buyers are. We saw where the CEO Jensen was literally selling shares there. Okay, great. He's now done selling shares. He says, okay. So, look, I'm all right with it. Adobe ADVE.
The only thing I would point out there in NVIDIA is you got to get above this 109.87. You can see in the hourly yesterday, Charlie Moon from Prosper, were going through some of the charts, and you could see here multiple attempts. And what we've seen is it's been on pretty decent volume, was the thing that we were pointing out yesterday. So it's got the volume. What it is it's seeing some pretty big sell wall right here, right? It's almost giving you a Bitcoin-sized sell wall that you don't normally see in stock. So just something.
Yeah, but I'm not scared on it.
Oh, I'm not scared either. That's just an hourly look looking at it today.
Yeah. Adobe says they're going to launch a generative AI video creation tool later this year, ADVE. That's interesting.
There it is, interesting. Chip makers were moving up this morning in the pre-market. Let's see if they still are here.
If anybody thinks that AI is going to be going away or not part of the consumer fabric, they're completely lost their minds, because this thing is about to do everything. I mean, we're about to have an AI life. I mean, that just is what it is.
Yeah, without a doubt, that is the case. I'm trying to find my right up here. Here it is. In fact, I was going a little further into Oracle. As I told you, I was a little surprised about how well their earnings were and how the price was reacting. So I went a little deeper in. he's talking about how AI is going to be $100 billion. That the entry price to getting into, for these Magnificent Seven, sort of to get
Oof.
into that race, is about $100 billion over the next 4 or 5 years. Anyone who wants to play in that game says it's going to take a lot of money and it doesn't get easier. So again, talking about the amount of money and that moat that some of these people, why is Nvidia where it is they've got a moat built. Everybody needs those chips to do this AI, right?
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
100 billion, a lot of that money that's going to be spent, the way I took that was, Oracle stock obviously did well on it, and they're the ones that are going to face those high bills because they're not a chip manufacturer that does it, but they're seeing it on the other side of that. I will say another stock that I've been talking up this week, that that Palantir, after the inclusion in the S&P 500, and have been doing just a little bit more of a deep dive there. And the interesting thing that I was finding out is that the way that we talked about, they're not sexy because they dominate in the government side of things, especially U.S. Army uses them. A lot of the data research that they do, when they do war games and things like that, huge data analytics. But what I didn't really think about is how that translates into the real world now, and where their enterprise business part of their business is just taking off. So I thought that was interesting too. So Palantir one, I definitely think I would just keep on, even though it's at all-time highs, one to keep an eye on. You could see that really take off.
You're right. Up to 3 months ago, I was screaming Palantir, PLTR. I was
Right.
screaming at that it's undervalued. Today, I think it's getting a little closer to being valued now. And yeah, I think we're seeing that a little bit this morning. But look, you're right. I mean, even here, Quasar Markets, we got involved in AI at the very early stages. Same thing with me. I've been talking about AI now for 8 solid, almost 9 years now that this is coming, and I've been talking about quantum computing for a while now. We need to be ahead of the game. We don't need to be behind the curve here. And quite frankly, if you're not in the AI space, you're pretty much done. I don't care if you're in the news, journalism. I don't care if you're in the computer space. It's going to be AI, and it's going to be a part of our lives. So why not? When you look at your own selves, computers and phones and mobile phones and machines just aren't prepared for it. And there are only a few companies out there that are going to be prepared for that. And that's Nvidia, and that's AMD, and that's a few chip makers, and including Huawei. I saw this morning where China and Russia were meeting, and a few minutes ago, I just saw where the Saudi crown prince is meeting with China's Premier Li. I mean, the world is getting closer and closer together, and we need to be prepared for that. It's not just the U.S. leading the world anymore. Foreign countries are starting to step up, and they're not going to step up with the normal things they normally step up with. It's not going to be Saudi Arabia stepping up with, we got more oil. They're not going to do that. They're going to step up with computers, with technology. You're not going to see that in China. China's not going to step up and say, well, we're the manufacturing capital of the world. You're going to see them stepping up in Huawei and companies like that. So they're not done. But if you harken back to the last night's debate, one thing that Trump said if he was elected, that he would add tariffs, 100% tariffs on things. Ouch. I can tell you from a standpoint, tariffs do not work. If you want to be in a trade war, tariffs just don't work. They find other ways around it. Hello, crypto. Hello, other ways of finding it. Banks are going to accept you. They'll just move their products elsewhere. And you mentioned it yesterday, Howard. When we now are not leading in AI and crypto, guess what's happening? Other countries are stepping up, and they're going to lead. And we need to be leaders. We don't need to be followers. And I think that's a problem here in the administration we have now, with Lena Khan causing massive issues, and Gensler not being good to crypto. So there's some give or take, right now.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you that on the blockchain side, a lot of companies left the U.S.
Yeah.
During the last 4 years, moved more offshore, and you don't want to see that for technology. You don't want to see it. We don't earn any of the taxes, benefits from that, that they would pay into it. Staying on the world stage, I noticed that the yen's continuing to make that move against the dollar, which I think is going to lead to a little bit of short-term downside to watch for the market, with that yen carry trade still unwinding. It's not done yet. They made it clear there's still a lot of money tied up in that. So, you do have to keep that. I do think that might be part of what we're seeing with this systematic sell off every day, because it seems to hit the same time, Steve. It's just too consistent that
Yeah.
like I'll say it now. It's 9:15. At 9:30 we're going to get a pop, and at 10 o'clock we're going to get a sell off, and then at 2 o'clock we'll actually see the next move up. I mean,
And
that's
then
just
we've been
been
saying it, right?
that's
Algos
been
are
yeah, it's been
exactly.
2 weeks of it. So until I see a break from that, I don't think that you can play the market any other way. As I said, it seems chop 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 chop. Today's data should have stopped choppiness because it's hitting exactly what they said it is. And what did the morning look like so far? Choppiness. Although we are now, it seems like, getting a little bit of footing under us and a little bit of direction. Sticking in the world, I saw ECB tomorrow, so they front run
Mhm.
the Fed this month. So we should see on Thursday that they're going to cut a quarter point to 3.5%. The prevailing thought there is that they underestimated how bad the economy was in the Eurozone. They are definitely seeing more of those cracks than we are so far. Although, with Germany being bad, or leading the way with some downturns, the big R word being bandied around there in Germany, stocks was down on that. What I want to ask you when it comes to that is, with this downturn in the banks that we see, right? And money coming out of them, that's scaring people when big banks go down like they did yesterday. J.P. Morgan, Bank of America, and then I have Ally up there. Ally got really hit yesterday, down about 17%. And to me, what it's showing is the banks that a lot of credit cards, a lot of lower end credit cards, or things, they're already seeing those payments getting missed or the balances going up. That's what you've been talking about for weeks, right? I mean, for months.
One of the things I was very proud of this country was the savings rate during COVID. It went from under 5 to over 26, 27%. That was crazy, awesome stuff. You're right. The banks with Basel III needed more in the banks. They needed more, 19%. Now we have to lower it to 9%. The Fed is lowering the amount of money that the banks have to protect the banks. That is really hurting the J.P. Morgans, Goldman Sachs of the world. You saw them get hit yesterday. I've been saying this for a while. There's a banking problem, and it's coming fast, and it might come even faster. So, you know, and with rates now sitting 10-year now sitting at 3.661%. There's no savings rate in the banks, so people are looking for alpha elsewhere, and that's why I'm saying the stock market is not done. We're going to continue to push higher. It's going to be choppy. I'm okay with that. Because I'm not really trading this market. You talked about it, the algo side of it. I'm not going to fight the computers. I'm just going to stay long and stay long. And every dip I bought, we bought the dip on Bitcoin. You and I, we did that when that thing fell the other day. That was a win-win for everybody. I got to quote stack sats. That's what the market's telling us right now. Now, that's now, and I don't prepare for now. I prepare for in the future. So I'm thinking that we need to start moving some of our assets into other things. I think one thing that we need to start maybe pulling back from a bit is the precious metals markets. Gold and silver has had a nice run. Do we go higher? Probably because of foreign government intervention. They're buying gold at a high levels. We heard that. I'm looking forward to seeing your interview with Peter Thomas. But you know what? When you're looking at these kind of equities and where we're going to move money to and asset classes, right now, I think the asset class is still the stock market. There's just no other place right now. Crypto market maybe, but there's too many people there that are just 100xing things. So yeah, I'm still saying it's tech, and we're still seeing it's tech, even with the sell-off not too long ago. Right back up it goes. So yeah, I don't think there's anything in this market other than straight up.
Wow. Well, you heard it from Big Beat here. I am not as bullish as you are there. I think we've got a little bit of choppiness, and a little bit before we see people get off their hands. I think a lot of people in that mid class, like you said, or lower middle class are sitting on their hands right now. They want to see, make sure they're not going to lose their job, make sure things are okay
Yeah.
before they put some more money back in the markets. I also, but with that being said, too, what's starting to worry me, and I saw a couple articles on this too, is we've seen the world of meme stocks again starting to jump, and that always worries me. It's as I told you, when I see Doge and Shiba and Pepe at all-time highs or approaching all-time highs, what do I always say? Let's start selling some of our Bitcoin. Let's start taking a little profits here. We're getting frothy. When crap starts to make money, you start to get nervous. And I'm seeing some of that in the GME that just played out. And some of the other things. So that's the only thing there for me, is that I just see a little bit of uneasiness in that middle class and lower middle class of traders. But I don't think they really move the market that much. I think they do right now when volumes are low.
Hmm.
But when volume picks up, we won't see that as much. You mentioned Treasury yields. That 3.7, it seemed to be pretty sticky for about 2-3 weeks, right? And now we just broke way below. 3.62 earlier this morning. I saw. Um, you know,
Yeah, it's preparing for the cut, right? I mean, we know it's coming. We got as high as 5% now. We're down to 3.67. Hondo, I think we go lower. I think we blow below 3.5 fairly soon.
wow. Okay. Well, that would be and that leads into a little bit what I wanted to talk about, as with
Home
mortgages.
buy, home buyers, yeah, there you go, exactly.
Yeah, because I'm interested in there because I bought a house during all of this, and obviously, and I have one free refi that I get because I was with a new home builder, and that was one of their perks. So I'm looking for when I'm going to do that. So I'm always watching it, and mortgage rates fell for the 6th week in a row. 30-year hit the lowest level since Feb 2023, but we're not seeing a spike in home sales. What do you think about that?
I always tell people, if you want to know what the market's doing, wait till I get a haircut. The reason being is because when my hairdresser starts asking me about when can I buy a house, when is this a good time to buy stocks? I've got a hot stock tip. That's when I know that I need to do the opposite, right? Um, I will tell you right now, people are looking to buy homes right now, and those people are starter homes because we've had a very low 2 and 3% for a long time. And then when we exploded to the upside up here, that's adding thousands of dollars a year, sometimes $10,000 to $17,000 a year to a new home, just in rates. Banks loving that, right? But if they start to come down, they're not loving that so much. And that's the problem because most people locked in that were buying homes during COVID did it to buy a home to protect themselves from the COVID, and all of a sudden now are locked in between 15 and 30 years for a home, and they're not refinancing. They don't. That's the problem. They don't want to leave their home because they got such a good deal. They don't want to move to something else because they got a good deal. Because if they move, it's going to cost them not only the house, not only the move, not even the movers, but it's going to cost them in a refi as well. And God bless you for getting a free refi. That's a highly unusual. Congrats on that.
Yeah,
But
well, and that's what I've been pointing out too, is that and what we are seeing in sales of homes to new buyers are really being led by new home builds,
right.
because they've got all these yeah, they had built-in incentives. Let's put it this way: I was lucky because number one, I still need about a point off of mortgage rates to even be at a point to refinance because they bought down the points, and then yeah, they
You
gave me a
might get it.
refi. That's the advantage for those that don't know. That's why you are seeing some of the DR Hortons, Lennar, Ryans still selling a lot of homes, is because they build them, they have profit built in, and then they have partnerships or are your mortgage you know lender. So they'll have special rates that you get locked in at that were ours was almost a point lower than what the market was at
You
that
know,
point.
I went to this weekend to see my parents, and in the villages in Florida. And I'll tell you, Hondo, on the way up, we saw several DR Hortons. We saw several Cedar Homes
Yeah,
and Pulte all building. I mean, just flattening out the land here in Florida, putting in new homes and
that's
roundabout.
everywhere. That's here in Ohio, same thing. They're all over the place. You're seeing urban sprawl even in the community I live, a town of 7,000. There are 3 new developments going in. So you're seeing that, and like you
Oh
said, that's because we.
no, Hondo. Jim Cramer is talking
Oh
about
no.
Nvidia.
Oh, there it goes. You better.
Oh, he's
The
positive
Kramer
Nvidia. Oh
effect.
no, he was so negative on Nvidia. Now he's so positive on it.
Yeah, that's what worries me. See that's like almost the meme stock. When Kramer's talking good about tech, it means tech might have too big be too high right now. And yeah, and the new home builders, what they are seeing is an opportunity because those inventories are so low. Like you said, you're not selling a house that you got a 1.5 or 2% mortgage to do something right now. It just makes no fiscal sense. We are about 5 minutes away here. We are seeing SPY at highs of the pre-market trading here about 549.23. Same thing, QQQ towards the highs of the morning. So let's see if we can hold on here. Can we get through a half hour without, the sell-off coming here? Gold losing a little bit now after CPI because we had seen that in the green earlier. You can see CPI did not like that reading. As you mentioned, we'll be on next week, hopefully, with Peter Thomas, who is the man when it comes to gold. AU Secure, one of the partners within the Quasar Markets platform, where you can actually purchase all your metals right through the platform.
Yeah, yeah. I think what's one of the cool things about Quasar Markets is that we have really partnered with some really cool products and some really cool companies and some really cool people. Um, I've been doing this for 3 decades, so all those people over my lifetime are now coming into one platform, and that it's been a tremendous voyage for this year, and it's really exciting for the future. All right, Howard, I'm looking at the VIX right now. VIX is still dropping here. So that could pretend to be pretty good here in the morning. I think you're going to see a little choppiness in the morning. One stock I've been talking about for a while now is Albemarle. If you don't know Albemarle, ALB, now up almost 15% there this morning.
I have that here in my list of things to bring up. Yeah, Albemarle, I saw. So lithium, right? That's a big play
Yeah,
on lithium.
yeah,
I don't know if
and
you
why?
saw the.
Because of last night, right? So yeah,
Well, and also the news that they are going to stop a lot of the lithium producers, mining stocks are going to stop because supply was too high. So they are doing. In fact, some of the lithium miners were soaring this morning, based on
yep,
that. And those that don't know, lithium is one of the key, if not the key component, lithium carbonate in EV batteries. So staying within that world there. That's the case. What we heard from CATL, which is the world's largest manufacturer of EV
yep.
batteries, is that there's an oversupply of lithium right now. So the suspension is understandable. So yeah, you called that. When we were talking about Buffett and companies that he could look at. So that could be interesting. I wonder if that's got any play in this big move up. Did he finally say today's the day I start to put some money in? We'd know it by the end of the week. But that you actually called that could be one of the companies you could see him getting into. So it will be interesting to see if that does come about here. Market's getting ready to open here in 2 minutes. Saw Berkshire had to divest. So interesting. A question I had for you also, or more of something interesting I saw, was they gave some reasoning for why he just dropped some more Bank of America stock and said he had to do it under the constraints that he's under, from banking regulators for holding too much of the big banks. So I didn't realize that there was such a thing that you couldn't own too much of the big banks.
Yeah.
And then number two, that I think it's important because people listen to or watch his moves and then make a move based on that. And like I said, I do think some of these banks got hurt on news that he was selling, Bank of America, but he was selling because he had to, not because he necessarily wanted to.
So he made a specific plea to the regulators and asking that he could buy more than he's allotted or available to buy, and they approved that and they pulled that back now, saying that he needs to start divesting himself of some of the banks. Uh, Again, I talked about that this morning, Lena Khan. These problems, Gensler, stop it. Look, I get it that you don't want people to be too big, but all right, here we go, Hondo. We are open.
We
Boom,
are
NVIDIA.
open. Let's go, baby. We'll put
Oh,
NVIDIA here
NVIDIA
on.
110 now. Here you go, baby. There you go, baby. Keep going. I was not scared when it came to NVIDIA, and I just held down there.
Yeah, again, if the nothing changes fundamentally, then, why would you look at that? And that's over that key spot that we're looking at here. So any hold over 109.87 to me, very bullish for a move up and towards this 200 MA on the hourly chart. So you definitely can see what you're looking at here. Good thing, not a ton of resistance in this level.
Some selling at Nasdaq, I guess.
Although it's still up there, 110, 110.05
Albemarle
right
now
now.
up 16%. Wow. SMCI up 1.5%. Cocoa up now 4.5%. Whoop. There you go.
Tell you what, chips are running in general. AMD 1.47, AVGO Broadcom 5.25. That was one you were
Hey,
talking about.
when you talk about it last time in the debates, they both talked about it. They wanted to put tariffs on okay, chips coming in the country. Guess what? Well, Nvidia and AMD are right here in the United States. Intel is too. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, and they didn't make any sense where they were trading, right?
Oh wow, this thing is blowing up now.
Tell you what, trading view is moving very slow this morning. That
MSTR
means
now down 4.5%. DJT down almost 14% now. Yeah, I think even his own people realized he didn't do very well last night in the debate.
I would not want to be in those meetings this morning, without a doubt.
People are getting fired this morning, I think, Howard.
That's how he usually handles it, isn't it?
I think another place that I think the administration is really keen on is space exploration. They may not be keen on Elon Musk, but they are definitely keen on space exploration. So I
I
think we'll
think
see
that's
that.
where they both agree. Also, I agree there.
Yeah.
I did have wanted to talk to you a little bit about ATST. Did you see that they are going to launch? Look up in your skies about 4:52 a.m. tomorrow or tonight, or whatever you want to say, tomorrow morning. They are going to get that first launch off with SpaceX. So I thought that was exciting to see there. Their stock had been up earlier in pre-market movers. Give me 1 second to pull it up here.
We're still pushing higher on the highs of the day now. Nvidia 110.70. But if you've been sticking with us, you know that we were winning here. So let me tell you, last week I got nervous, and I don't get nervous in the markets, and it got me nervous. I'm not nervous anymore.
That's good to hear. Yeah, AST
111
is.
now. There she goes. Bam, boom. Come on.
NVIDIA 110, 76, 79. Let's go. Tesla getting hit a little bit today, although it's been on fire. So you can't really argue with that. As we've talked about, some pullback is not a bad thing. What else do we see moving here? Retail in general moving in the wrong direction this morning. I'm seeing Nordstrom's down about 1.26. PVH down.
Yeah, we're
Kohl's.
seeing the advanced decline line still minus by 842 here. So there's still some negative breath in the market, but I think it's all technology today. Apple up
It does.
1.2.
The only thing I'm seeing that's sort of green on my screen here on my watch list that I use are the tech stocks. I'm looking. Ally actually getting a little bit of a bounce after being down so much.
And there's the sell-off in starting to hit a little bit.
Tell you who's getting hit now that news is getting out about those bank sell-off is Berkshire down about 1.22 here.
You get that down there, I might be buying some Berkshire Hathaway.
I've been looking at it. I'm not gonna lie. As you know, I am a big Buffett fan, and I think that these pullbacks give some pretty good attractive prices. That's what I was going to talk to you about. J.P. Morgan,
I think one of
which
the
is
things you got to
down
worry about with
another
Berkshire.
1.2. I think J.P. Morgan at 200 is a good price. So
Berkshire
those are the ones I'm
Hathaway
looking
is
at.
you have to really like Ankit Jain, who is the CEO there now,
Right. Yeah.
and there's a co-CEOs. I don't think Warren is actually making a lot of the plays anymore. So, I think he's the figurehead, and which is good. I think him and Charlie Munger were uh, people that we should be emulating of how we invest. Even though I know Charlie spoke of Bitcoin as
Yeah.
rat
Let's
poison.
not. Yeah. Let's not bring him up. I don't like to. I
Yeah.
don't like to talk badly about a deceased gentleman. Now he was a
rat
good
rat poison rat poison
squared.
squared, right? Yeah, right.
Yeah. Right. They wouldn't buy all of
Charlie
it
was
for
a
one
good
dollar.
guy. I like Charlie. He was a funny guy.
Well, while what you've seen the transition there as Warren's kids also have been more involved. They are definitely the tech savvy part of the investing over there. They're the ones that pushed him into some of those stocks over in Japan. They pushed him heavily into Brazil, where he's even invested in a Bitcoin um, mining company. Unbeknownst to him, I think. So the kids, have been doing that. So yeah, some of those names. I guess my takeaway is, right now if you're buying those dips and you're looking for things for that midterm buy, don't be looking at GameStop. Don't be looking at these, meme plays. I look at the, class of the class, J.P. Morgan, Goldman Sachs, um, your Amazons, the ones that are your market leaders. If they're taking a pullback here, could be a good part to get some entries.
If Mr. Aaron Schurz is watching, Google is up again today.
Absolutely good there. Google, they've
Another one
struggled.
that I like here is TTD. That's the Trade Desk. They sell advertising,
Advertising, yeah.
and yeah, when you look at it from the perspective of the election cycle, they're probably doing quite well right now.
Pulling that chart up for us here. Let me just switch that over to the day chart. There we go. Yeah, that's a good looking day chart. Sitting right in the middle of linear regression, you can break back above that midpoint, that linear. You've got definitely upward movement there on the trade desk. I'm seeing a call for an analyst for 115 a share from Needham. Okay, let's see what's moving here. Coco Steve 4.37%. Nvidia holding above 110 nicely, trying to challenge 111 here.
111 on Nvidia, just hit
There
it.
you go.
We've been watching
Well,
it. We've been
talking into existence.
Well, I think Kramer 111.11 now. They're on Nvidia. Just popped.
Steve, another sector we've been talking a lot about is the big box brands, right? You and I both bullish on sort of Costco and those big guys leading the way. Walmart up 1.9 here. Saw an interesting note from Morgan Stanley that they attended their management meetings and were extremely impressed by the plans in place that they have, number one. And then my takeaway that I thought was important, having worked in the large restaurant sector, was they said that management and especially upper mid management all talking the same talk, walking the same walk, all in line. That's something that's important. It's easy for a new CEO or a new plan to come out, but do you see that the army behind them is getting ready to march in order? And it sounds like Walmart does have that in place. So that's one to keep an eye on here. And again, up, earlier, now taking a little bit of a hit.
Yeah, Walmart was getting crushed by Amazon for the longest time, and then they bought Jet, and they did some things to move the needle there. But you're not going to take Aunt Walmart down just yet. I'm going to do something that I've been holding back on, Howard. I have been seriously long NVIDIA, as most of you know, and
Another stock I talked about yesterday to keep an eye on, Woof, which is
I have
Petco.
just sold half of my Nvidia right here, Howard.
There you go. There you go. Right live in front of you. Taking some profits there. Never a bad idea. I think that's a great learning lesson for our watchers here is that, you got to take profits. It doesn't just go up. Steve made it clear he's still bullish on the market, but what did he do? He executed a trade that followed his plan. So love to see that. As I was mentioning, now starting to move up even more, 5.2% Petco. They had again another one. I'm big on reading into those earnings reports and not just seeing what the initial reaction is. Their earnings report was excellent. They're seeing more foot traffic. Their online sales have looked much, much better. They're competing with the Chewies of the world in that market now. The other part that I'll point out, and I know it from you, you have Bailey, I got my Moochie. I spend a lot of money at these stores. I have to laugh when I look at the evolution of what my dog's diet has looked like over the years from, whatever was cheapest at the grocery store to now, 17 ingredients bought from 14 different places for my Moochie. So I do think pet food companies, these companies, they've been beaten down a little bit here. Another sector I kind of like.
Yeah, I mean, my Bailey lives better than most humans live.
Yeah.
He has his own couch, his own everything. We're continuing to see Nvidia pushing higher here.
Same thing
This is
in this
why I didn't sell
Petco.
everything.
Petco, man, look at that, up 6.84 as we're talking about it. We're moving the market, Steve.
This is why I didn't sell everything on Nvidia. Still pushing higher here. I like that. I just
Yeah,
took a little bit of
absolutely.
my risk off. That's all I pretty much did here. I was pretty heavy because I doubled down, and now I'm feeling better about it.
Like you've all one of Big Beat's biggest rules of trading is if you're worried about your position is too large, right? So
That's right.
that's a second part, is
And it was too large, Howard.
yeah. Well, and I know when you say that, that means it was, um, you know, and that's yeah. You gotta take your profits at different times. Steve, I got to eat a little crow here this morning. One of the stocks that I mentioned yesterday that I thought was not going to produce after earnings was Dave and Buster's Play. I felt that was sort of one of those stocks that was in that mid level that's kind of getting hurt. Had great earnings, um, and now up 7.17%. So, we point out our wins, we point out our losses. I didn't play it. But I did point out that I thought it
If
was.
you talk about a stock that is in the play for M&A, Dave and Buster's is one of those companies I could easily see being bought by a Disney or a Six Flags or something that's an offshoot. My goodness, Nvidia now 112 now. Wow.
Wow.
Oof. Um, yeah. So look, I think Dave and Buster's is a great play. I know so. We don't tell anybody what to buy or sell here. We don't do that. But I like Dave and Buster's here. I like going there. There's other places called like Main Event. There's one near me. Main Event near me. Um, but when people want to blow off steam, and they've got 20 kids and they want to run around, they have a it's not McDonald's birthday parties. They're going to Dave and Buster's because the
That's a
adults can
good
drink.
point. Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody can be happy. I'll tell you what's going to be
VIX is
interesting to watch
jumping here for
Steve.
some reason here. VIX just popped a lot here now.
Uh oh. Well, it's 9:45. The 15 minutes of
Getting
buying.
close to that 10 o'clock time at that hour, right?
9:45. That's when it starts to turn every morning here. Steve, when you have some free time, which I know you never have, take a look at a place called COSM in Texas. I think it's the future of sports bars and Dave and Buster's, like you talked about. They literally have put in a mini version of the Sphere, where it's like this 120-foot screen, and they film football. They do football games. It looks like you are sitting on the sidelines. I saw it. It is amazing, and I think it's going
I
to be a game changer for guys like you and I. Like you said, like I might not want to go deal with a stadium, but I like to go get with like minded fans that like the same teams that I do and watch some stuff. It's amazing. So when you have a chance, take a look at that. Not a publicly
I'll
held
tell you
company.
right now, I agree with you. I was in Chicago not too long ago with my friend Scott Bauer, and went over there to DraftKings. I tell you, if you talk about, they have a great place at Wrigley Field. I thought that was really really cool. My wife and I walked in. I was like, I like this. You can have a beer and a burger and watching the game and hanging out. So I like that a lot.
And
Yeah,
I would say I think you just hit on the head too. Is who could be a buyer for Dave and Buster's? Those companies are moving heavily into the bar, sort of sports area where it's its own little built-in casino. Where at all of these stadiums, in DC, they've got them. They're MGMs. So
yeah,
MGM has right in the Nats Stadium a little bar. You can bet live betting because it's a different game of betting. It's not what we grew up betting. I think that's
that's
another
right.
thing people don't understand. I used to bet a game by who's going to win, what was the spread, and maybe the over under. Nowadays, you're betting as the spreads are moving
As the
live.
game is going along, it's
Yeah,
more
or the
exciting. Yeah.
fantasy. So that could be an interesting play. But yeah, I was very impressed by that new sort of venture, and I think it's going to be interesting to watch. We do see
Yeah,
us getting a little bit of negative hit here, like Steve said.
yeah. Saw it coming in here. Russia's Putin says maybe we should think about exports restrictions of some goods such as uranium.
Huh.
Kremlin says they were asked about Trump's assertion that he could end the Ukraine war with a phone call to Putin. Such a call would not end anything. Kremlin says what could help in conflict is if U.S. stopped using Ukraine as a way of keeping Russia down. That's negative, I think, in the markets, if you ask me.
Doesn't help, and we are, like I said, we are seeing a drop here. Dow getting hit hard today.
I had a
Down
feeling
about
though
a
that was
point.
where it was. Yeah.
So after that, and again, this is where I get a little confused in that investors, CPI hit where you wanted it to hit. What surprise happened this morning in the last 15 seconds?
No, I can tell you right now, the not being friendly with Russia is a problem. Not being friendly with China is a problem. Not being friendly with foreign adversaries not being is a problem. And I've said this again this morning that look, it looks like the world is splitting in two, so that the East and the West are starting to split. So yeah,
Seeing Treasury yields move up a little bit here after um, the CPI, and that makes sense. And I think what we're seeing, Steve, maybe today, and maybe you could talk more to this, is retail said okay, and I'm going to start to buy, and now the institutions that do look more at that macro look at things and tend to have that dystopian view of things versus what the retailer trader does, maybe selling into that euphoria.
I'm looking at Cosm you talked about. I'm wanting one here in Florida now. Thank you very much.
Well, Steve, we could put together a team there. Get it
I'm
going.
liking that.
Isn't that amazing? It really is. I just was impressed by it. Hey, I gotta say, I did pull up a couple of charts here. I wanted to show you.
DJT now down 16.5% there. Whew.
Wow.
JP Morgan now getting close to that $200 handle you talked about earlier, 203 now.
Yeah, 200 for me seems to be a spot that I would find it to be rather attractive.
You
Especially
look
the
at that
double.
daily chart. Wow, that thing is the 200-day moving average there is right around 191. So we're getting close to that 200-day moving average there on JP Morgan.
And that's a stock that tends to look at those, big indicators. Steve, that's one that we haven't really talked about. Moving averages, in my view on it, is what it does is it's so psychological, right?
It creates floors and it creates tops.
Absolutely. For those that don't know, moving average, in this case, the 200 MA that I do have pulled up on my chart right here is the blue line that is moving in the upward direction but quickly closing on JP Morgan's price, is historically a place where you see a bounce. It's support. People, that's, there are so many traders, so many institutions that have it set up that say, okay, that's historically a good spot to buy. That it tends to be it tends to just play out every time almost. That is an interesting one. On the hourly, I was looking too, a little bit of a double bottom maybe coming forming here.
Yeah, we're seeing Bitcoin 56.3 now. It got the 57,000 and just sold off there. There's a big widening there, I think, in the trading ranges.
Well, as you know, that's what you want to see. As it widens out in Bitcoin, that's when we tend to get the move. Again, on Bitcoin, that 200 MA on the hourly charts where it's bounced all morning, right?
There you go, 110.50 now on Nvidia. That was a nice little sell off. I thought I saw that coming in there. Took that profit and ran. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it's history repeats itself. History repeats itself. We're at a stage where it's just this first half hour of the day has played out pretty much the same for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Um, you
Oof, the
know,
sell off now is bigger, exacerbating now in Bitcoin. Who
yeah.
is dumping there?
That we'll find out. Usually, again, this is the yeah, it's going to be ETFs, quite honestly, because we know that they rebased this morning. So that's what it's going to turn out being. Leverage was pretty high though, also in Bitcoin today. So we've got too much speculation going on right now. Give me a second. I'll take a quick look at that to see what they look like here. Yeah, we're definitely seeing liquidations lead this down. We're seeing about $132 million in liquidations across the crypto market here in the last 24 hours. So, and if we look here,
Still seeing, yeah, the VIX is still pushing higher here a little bit. I
you
saw
can
a nice
see
little.
here on my screen to the right bottom, those are all liquidations that just happened. So some pretty big liquidations across it all. We're seeing it was shorts that had been getting closed out overnight. That has changed dramatically here this morning. So Bitcoin definitely turning, in the last four
At what
hours.
point do these people just stop being like 100x's and craziness?
Never, because some of that, Steve, is quite honestly hedge plays. It's the same.
Gotcha.
We look at it and think it's all retail, but it really isn't. A lot of that's playing out by the jump capitals of the world, and these other quant traders that are hedging plays on their spot holdings. So as Bitcoin is evolving, we're getting a more sophisticated trader, but
Yeah.
that's what tends to lead to these. So that's part of the market. Your
Jump
Coco,
traders probably stop before they don't become a no trader.
yeah, Jump Capital. They had slowed down, but I've seen an uptick in their wallets lately. Coco moving back up here. So again, we're seeing the same thing play out that we've seen most of these mornings.
Yeah, now 110 now 110.19 109 on Nvidia. The sell off was huge there.
Let's take a look and see what the penny pumpers are today. CNEY looks to be the first front runner going this morning. CN Energy Group. Oh, it looks like it's trying to run again right here. Up about. Man, look
Wow,
at
there
that.
you go. Nvidia just getting slapped now. Had a feeling.
CN Energy up 292% on this pump right here. Volume coming back into it, as Charlie Moon mentioned yesterday, the man that knows how to trade these micro pumpers. You got to watch if this secondary volume picks up anywhere near that first set of volume, you'll see the next jump there. So that's what I would be looking at. Another pumper here, BCTX. Bracell Therapeutics. Another one that was up over 200%, now coming back down already. You know, again, this advent of this new world of micro pumpers worries me too, Steve. Volume going into that as opposed to going into smart plays. Berkshire down almost 2 points now. I have to start to take a look at that for. Wolf now up almost 8%.
Yeah. Albemarle slipping back down here, only up 11% here. There's a nice profit taking there. We kind of talked about that this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Man,
Lunar, LUNR, that's Intuitive Machines now down about 5% here. Space Race is getting, GME now down about 16% here.
GME getting hit hard. And they had better earnings. Although, if you read that report,
I
which is
thought they had
one,
pretty good earnings, actually.
yeah, but they were all cash earnings. So
Mm.
they did that big offering. Was sitting on all the cash, and it was almost all of their profit was the interest on their cash accounts. Yeah, it shows you. That's where these earnings reports. You got to be really watching them because you'll see that little frontline headline and they don't give you the full story there. I think that's I've seen more and more of that lately, where it's the mainstream media pushes these narratives that aren't really true in there. They just want to pump out some information. But yeah, GME, most of their earnings, unfortunately, were based to their cash holdings. They weren't based on their business actually going, because that's what I wanted to see. I'm a big fan of video games, as you know. I know you are also. I wanted to know because they got into making the video game business. How is that going? Is that giving them profits yet? But they didn't give any good news there. They're another one that's weird because they don't do any market call. You just get the quarterly report and good luck. They're like, see you guys next time. So I thought that's interesting too. I didn't realize that. Man, I really read that Dave and Buster's wrong. 7.27% up right there.
Boeing down about 2% here. Yeah, I think Mr. Market, I was watching the debates last night.
Yeah, they seem a little sleepy, don't they?
Yeah, down 500 points here. The Nasdaq down only 38. So, yeah, I definitely believe that the markets were definitely watching. Ethereum down 4.5% here. Whew.
Ethereum's been getting pretty hard and lately. But it's the same thing Bitcoin got after the ETF came out too. Everybody jumps in, the price goes up a little bit, and then it tanks as people realize it's not going to make you $1 million in one day. They dump it, and then it will get its base back. VIX is moving up here today a little bit. 19.57 I'm showing on my screen. Silver
Putin
also
now
starting
says
to
that
pick up a little bit of momentum here.
Putin says there's no rush in discussions on commodity export limits. So he's chilling out a bit on that. Yesterday you talked about LASE has been halted here again. You can see trade halts in the platform. Actually, we have trade halts right in the platform.
Absolutely. I look at them all day. That and your U.S. market movers are probably my two biggest used ones lately. I got to pull up that LASE and take a look.
Nvidia still slipping here now, down below the 110 handle again. If we see SMCI now only up 1.7%, so that selling is pretty rough here in the 10 o'clock hour.
And Steve, as we talked about, the reason you don't play too hard and you better have a good set of parameters around you if you're playing in those micro pumpers. Yesterday, as you mentioned, I was talking about lace and saying if it had broke above that 7 level, you could see it move up towards that 859. It did. But now look at it at 456 today. You can't, that's just a pure pump and dump right there. Just a pure absolute play. Where is Gary Gensler on this? We don't hear. That's one I've got to ask you. Because we don't hear anything on this. I've seen this phenomenon really pick up in the last 6 months. I know that Charlie's been tracking it so much at Prosper and trading off of these. But you can tell that this is a coordinated pump and dump. Why aren't there being anything talked about it?
I think because right now we're in the middle of summer. It's still people. It's the weather is nice in New York. The weather is nice up north right now. It's not cold, and people are still getting that last bit of summer. And I don't think people are focused on the markets right now. Wow,
That's
look
a
at
good
that.
point. It doesn't seem like they're focused on the markets.
Right. We're starting to see even more selling here as the tick now down 900. More selling hitting the market. 55.6 now on Bitcoin.
Yeah, look at the SPY too. SPY looks like it wants to retrace to that 540 level, and that's falls below that 540. You got some downside there to SPY.
I'm just not scared here though. I'm not moving yet, so I'm okay. I mean, the Dow being down 530 points says a lot about this market right now. VIX just popped again here.
Yeah, now starting to push towards that 20 level. Think that's the Russian news you just talked about there, Steve? Probably
Very
hitting the
much
news.
could be, yeah. I mean, we are
Because
looking at.
again, one thing that I think we got to point out is the VIX doesn't move because retail traders buy it. It's the number one used to hedge or part of a game plan for most of the institutions out there, right?
That is right. That is what options are normally meant for, especially in the VIX pits in Chicago. Uh, we might see a little bit of a bottoming here now that the 10 o'clock hour is over with here. All right, it's 10 o'clock. Howard, take us home.
Absolutely. We have a great day today. I'll be back at 11:30 to break down what's going on in the afternoon markets, and then we have an hour of Charlie Moon breaking down T and A. There's nothing better than Charlie breaking down the chart, showing you what he's looking at, how to price in the market, and showing you how to set those take profits and stop losses. And we will see you then, and then I'll be back at 2 o'clock, a little look at Bitcoin and a little bit more talk about what's going on in the mortgage business these days. And that's our day today. Folks, thank you for joining me and the man, Big Beat. We'll see you in a few hours.